Welcome to Eggshell Transformations, a podcast for intense people. My name is Imi, and I'm here with you on a journey.
Hi everyone, hi again. Today we talk about the minimalist life and the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early. Gabe and I talked about topics such as financial freedom, escaping from the bind of capitalism, the minimalist life, FIRE for families, and personal freedom. He shared his unique approach to finance and personal freedom, including his definition of the barista FIRE. We also talked about how minimalism and essentialism overlap and how that could work even for families. In the later part of our discussion, he offered tips and strategies for overcoming procrastination, finding joy without spending money, surrounding ourselves with like-minded people, and he taught us how to set goals, practice self-discipline, and be true to ourselves. And he shared very abundantly and freely a lot of his own productivity and mental strategies. And I think you might get a lot from this if you also want to live a free and perhaps not so conventional life.
Thank you for agreeing to speak with me. I feel very surreal right now seeing you in flesh because I have been binging your content for the last few days. And I've really enjoyed how real you are, how practical you are. And although we will talk about frugal living, you're not frugal at all in so freely giving away suggestions and advice. And so my podcast and YouTube channel, increasingly, I work with people who wants to walk a path that is slightly outside of the convention. I work with people who are interested in optimizing their potential, optimizing their lives. And I do know that a lot of them are independent thinkers who are very much drawn to freedom and independence. So I think, there's so much we can talk about. And given the economy the way it is, there are lots that we can discuss about capitalism, the American race, the ideals, minimalism. And I know you have a very unique approach to finance and personal freedom, which, I can't wait to jump in. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on the show. And yeah, I think there's a lot of people who are going through a lot of the same struggles that both of us talk about. So looking forward to talking about it.
Yay. Let's jump in. I've been getting a lot of feedback to say I interrupt my guests too much, so I need to reflect on that and stop myself. I think I do that when I'm very excited. But oh my God, yes, I understand. And I'm like, and also because I see this more like a conversation rather than an interview. But I'll be more aware of that. Sorry, audience. So let's start. I think today I am particularly eager into diving deeper into, like I said, your experience as an unconventional minimalist and how authenticity can thrive in a society that sometimes value conformity over celebrating individual paths. So let's start a bit about you. Obviously, there are so many things you can tell us about yourself, so feel free. But I might start with one question that are on people's mind. When did you quit your job and why? How did it happen?
Yeah, so I quit my day job like 3 years ago now or something like that. So pretty much I got into this idea of financial independence and early retirement. I learned about it when I was like 18-ish, and then really started taking it seriously in my early 20s. And I ended up buying a couple of rental properties, and I was working like three different jobs, and YouTube being one of them. And the rentals eventually allowed me to leave my job when I was 24, and then YouTube as
24?
I put more time into it. Yep.
24, 24.
Well, yeah, but like this kind of comes back to the unconventional lifestyle. Like we were living extremely frugally. It was me and my wife. Um, she also left her job like a couple months after I did. And it was because we were living frugally, we were living for free with house hacking, and then making, a little bit of money with YouTube and some other things. So it wasn't like total financial freedom, like living in pizza, but it was you know, we were able to do that and just work 1 or 2 days a week and have
Mm.
that cover all of the expenses. No big deal.
Well, I know you have a unique approach to fire as well, which we will come to talk about. But quitting your job anyway at 24 is impressive, and I think that is the new American dream for many people. So, what is your definition of financial freedom, which is a hot topic these days?
I mean, like conventional financial freedom would be having, I would think, enough money that you could live off that money indefinitely. But for me, or like enough invested that you could live off the returns indefinitely. But for me, there's this idea of barista fire, which I'm super like into, which is if you can make enough off a couple investments, whether it's a stock market, a business, you or real estate, whatever it is, then you can work a couple days a week, make
Mm.
20, $30,000 a year, and that will sustain you for the rest of your life. You can do something you love, even if it doesn't make money and or make a lot of money, and you can do that. And that is, for me, kind of like the dream. Like I don't want to never work again because I get bored if I take one day off of like creating something, I like get really bored, which is a different struggle in and of itself. Like I still work, but it's because I love doing it so much. And I think that's the goal is to have something that like I look forward to Mondays. I don't like the weekends as much because I try not to work on them. So I think that's my dream and like being able to travel. We traveled for a month this year through Europe and did a couple other trips. And it's like having that freedom to work from anywhere, doing something that you love is like the ultimate dream for me, more than having $4 million in the bank and being able to live off of it indefinitely.
Because there's the lean fire I've heard of, the fat fire, and the barista, yeah, barista fire. Mm. And how does that tie into, by the way, the book Essentialism, big time fan, huge favorite. And I think you have this perspective of combining minimalism with essentialism to achieve your retirement goal. So is that what you've just explained there? That's basically your model.
I mean, kind of like I was originally into the fire movement.
Mm.
And as I got more into minimalism, I realized that they overlap so much because the fire movement is this idea of lowering your expenses and cutting out everything that you can so you can focus on reaching freedom as soon as possible. And this idea of minimalism is super simple, or super similar, where you're trying to cut out all the non-essential stuff in your life so you have time and money to do the things that you want to do. Do you want to like never miss your kids' soccer games? Do you want to have more freedom to like go for walks and enjoy your life? And that all comes from like you have to say no to a bunch of stuff in order to say yes to other things. Because every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else.
Yeah.
And people just say yes indiscriminately to everything in their lives.
Mm.
So they really did come together for me and really helped me realize that we wanted to both be out of our jobs and enjoy like working from home and doing stuff so that we could spend time with our kids. We wanted to have a nice place to live. And we've been able to do those because we cut out maybe a bunch of things over the past couple of years that most people wouldn't even like think of doing in order to have that lifestyle. Now that we do have a little girl, we're able to spend time with her and do all those things because we put in time up front to kind of build that lifestyle, which most people would rather watch TV at night instead of like work an extra business at night that would eventually maybe give them freedom or invest in something that's scary that might eventually give them freedom, but it also, could go bad. So uh, I think it's willing to take those trade-offs, for delayed gratification deal.
That makes really good sense. Although I think for many people, the idea of being a parent yet living so lean could be quite unthinkable and scary. Like, what about childcare? What about this and that? But you somehow made it work.
Yeah, well, I mean, we don't have to pay for childcare because my wife doesn't
Exactly.
work and I'm home. Like, um, I'm just upstairs working a couple hours a day. They're downstairs like baking right now. So, um, I don't know. Like a lot of people just work to pay for childcare and like stuff like that, and insurance and
And I think what that highlights is a lot of things we think we must spend on are actually man-made constructs. Like they have to go to piano lessons. Sorry, I'm Asian. When actually, if you really think about it, maybe a lot of that is not necessary.
yeah, and it's also people have become it again goes back to the saying, yes, there are these things with kids where you like your kid's gone all day and then you pick them up and you bring them to a soccer practice or piano lessons or whatever, and then their days are just filled from morning till night with stuff, doing stuff, doing stuff, doing stuff. And like, when do you have the time to just play together, to cook, to enjoy dinner together, to like live a normal life? And that's something that we're trying to get away from, like trying to find that balance, which is, it's hard. But you don't need to do everything, and your kids don't need to do everything. And your kids, like Disney World might be cool, but also like my daughter loves watching the trash truck go by. It's like the highlight of her life. And like you can find joy in so many things without spending money.
Mm. That reminds me of the 80/20 rules, where unknowingly we actually get 80% of the benefit from 20% of the stuff. Or that really applies to my wardrobe. I always ended up picking the two most comfortable things, and the rest of the fantasy clothing just lies in the back. Mm. And I think what you said about the doing, doing, doing also ties into, it's a very capitalist, maybe American dream values. So can you talk a bit about how does your current lifestyle contrast to that, what most people chase or do, that kind of capitalist corporate race, the ladder?
Yeah. So, um, for me, I'm trying to like we're right now we're having a no spend month. That's something most people don't
What?
do, where we're not buying anything, but well, we're like buying food and gas and like nothing else pretty much.
Okay, so when I binge your YouTube content, I heard about the no spend day, and I was attempting that for myself and failed. And now we're talking about a no spend week. Sorry, month.
Well,
You
no,
said
a month.
month.
We do this a couple. Yeah, we do this a couple times a year, but like it's not like you live your life. Like you can get the necessities like food and
Yeah.
gas and stuff like that, but no Amazon, no going to like just don't even walk in a store. Like really break a lot of those habits.
Mm.
And I forget what the original question was, but for me, this really helps us realize that like this stuff that most people spend their lives for, we see an average of 10,000 ads per day, and then we
Mm.
buy all the stuff because we're programmed to do this. We're programmed to be consumers. And when you can break away from that by taking maybe a no spend month or whatever, then you can realize that this stuff added nothing to my life. Was I any less happy this month where I didn't buy anything as opposed to last month where I spent, $500 on random crap that I don't even remember what I bought last month? Like my happiness level did not change at all. So it's a really good like practice to like practice not doing the normal stuff, I guess.
That is amazing. That is amazing. I always try, yeah, I attempt a minimalist lifestyle myself, and I'm not a survivalist, but I quite like having surplus of some one thing that I like a lot. Like for instance, I like a shirt, I buy 10 of it and I stock up and like having the secure, but then that kind of does create clutter somehow. And then I read in a book, what's his name? It's a Japanese guy. He said to think about the shops as your, what is it called in English? Like a storage. So the
Hmm.
shop, the world is your storage. So you can always go and grab stuff, but you don't have to have them stocked at home. Try to practice that. But thank you for sharing that. How far in are you in your month?
I mean, we're like halfway through right now. I don't know what the date is actually. It's the 15th, so we're like
Yes.
almost
Oh
exactly
my
halfway
God.
through
Yes.
the month. Yeah, and we usually do one on January as well. So we'll be able to do a little bit during Christmas, but we're taking November and January to try to not spend as much as possible.
Well, you're looking
But
very
I
happy.
think like yeah, I think like what you talked about with the clothes, like most people wear 20% of their clothes 80% of the time, or even like 10% and 90%, which is this idea of the 90% rule from the book Essentialism. And I found that as well. Like I literally have certain shirts that I wear every single day, and the rest of them are just like, oh yeah, I like the idea of that one, but you never actually wear it.
Yes.
So like if you
Yes.
just get rid of those and you put them in a box, then and like put it away for a couple months and then go back to it, you might realize like I never even for those, and then you can just donate them. And you always have these stuff where just in case I grow, I shrink, it's suddenly becomes, a different climate here or whatever it is, or I change my taste. But you can always go back and get that stuff. Like it's generally not that big of a deal. So that's something that like we have all these just in case things.
So can you say more about the 90-10? I don't think many people are familiar with that.
Yeah, the 90-10 rule is very similar to the 80-20 rule. It's just um from the book Essentialism, he kind of says it's kind of that next level where it's not even 80-20, it's 90-10. And it's also, there's a couple different ways to use this. So one might be if something's not a 90 or above, you don't buy it. So if you don't absolutely love this, it's going to be your favorite shirt that you've ever worn in your entire life, then you don't buy it. And if you actually follow that rule, every shirt that you own will be the best shirt you've ever had and you love wearing it. And you can be as happy as possible because you spent way less stuff, way less money, way less stuff, and you have your favorites of everything in your entire house.
Yes.
That's a good way to live life, and most people see it as a bad way to live life. I don't get it. And then also, if somebody invites you to something and you don't really want to do it, but our default is to say yes to everything, and that's how we get cluttered schedules and we're busy and we can't even sleep. It's not a 90 or above. Say no. Like it's not that big of a deal. Practice saying no. Have that be the default. And unless there's an amazing reason to say yes to something, then don't do it. And that's how you like actually get control back over your life. You have to say no to some good things in order to say yes to some great things,
You heard of the Derek Silvers? If it's not a hell yes, then it's a no.
Yeah, it's that same kind of idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. Thank you for sharing that. Well, speaking of that book, is that your biggest takeaway from it, or are there any nuggets that that rings a bell?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was one of my biggest takeaways that I use a lot because there's so many different ways you can use that with work, with everything. And then yeah, just this idea of like less but better, which is kind of that same approach where I have one jacket that I own and I've had it for a couple of years and it was a little bit more expensive jacket, but it's is it a great jacket and I don't need five different options. I just need
Yeah.
one that is less but better and that's more simple. I never have to think about what jacket to wear. That decision's made for me because I made a choice once that makes that decision to take away 1,000 decisions in the future.
Mm,
So I just kind of like that idea of like, how can I do something less but better?
yeah.
And
Mm.
I don't know.
And I think we can apply that to many things like human relationships or business and activities and many, many other things. Mm, less but better. I work a lot with people actually who feel either because of their childhood or their family conditioning, feel very guilty whenever they spend money on themselves. And sometimes when I talk about minimalism or as you call it, frugalism, I don't want it to become another guilt trip for themselves. Do you have any advice for someone when they are treating themselves kindly, maybe spending on memories and experience and yet still feel very guilty?
Yeah, so I had this for a really long time
Do
because
you?
um yeah, like there was years where like we probably went out to dinner 3 times a year and stuff like that. We were spending no money because we wanted financial freedom like so bad. Um and then when it actually came to spending money over the past couple of years, I've been trying to get better at this and like actually
Mm.
focusing on it. Um I was feeling super guilty about it and I'm like, this is a waste. We don't really need this. And I think this idea of so generally entertainment and fun is about 5% of most people's budget, or it should be. Um, and most people start with cutting that 5%. Like, all right, I'm gonna stop going out to dinner, and that's how I'm gonna start saving money. I'm gonna stop going to the movies. I'm gonna stop buying clothes. That's how I'm gonna start saving money. Whatever your fun thing is, that should be the last thing that we cut.
Oh,
And I've kind of been realizing this, I've been like, it's okay to spend some money on yourself and just enjoy some things, not like excessively, but it shouldn't be the first thing that we cut is our own happiness and entertainment and joy. Like, unless it's like completely wasteful, you can have a lot of fun without spending money. But if there's something that you really enjoy, if you enjoy having, like, I have high quality coffee that's like 3 times more than from the store that I make at home still, so it's still cheaper than actually buying out. But I really enjoy that. So I'm okay with spending $1 a day on coffee when I could spend, 27 cents a day on coffee. Like I'm okay with some things like that, or I'm okay with spending a lot of money to go on vacation and make memories that are going to be really cool. Um, well, we can still do that cheaper than most people can. We can still like enjoy that. So yeah, just realizing that it's okay to spend that little bit, but really focus on if you can, your main three expenses are going to be your housing, your transportation, and your food. So if you can cut all of those, which we've done, we house hacks, we live like at half the price that most people do, and we live for free for many years. Our transportation, we do something called car hacking, where pretty much we buy older and used cars, and then if you sell them every couple of years, it's pretty much exactly what you paid for them, and you just cycle through cars that didn't really cost you anything. And then our food, we cook at home and, make cheaper stuff at home, then we can spend money on our entertainment without even having to worry about it because that doesn't really make an impact when you're saving thousands of dollars a month on the other stuff. A couple hundred on that stuff doesn't really matter.
Mm. I don't even know where to start. I guess we can talk forever about your house hacking and car hacking, but I think people will go to your channel for details on those. And the central message here is really, it's actually it's a 90-10 again. You pick what you can cut. Like for me, I try to cut down on food. That makes me feel so miserable. And I realize that it's just, I cannot compromise on that. I just love going to the supermarket. The trip itself is so sacred for me. Walking to the supermarkets and being surrounded by color and scents, that's like sacred. So, but I guess the central message is we need to figure out what is it that we cannot compromise. I mean, me and you can both compromise on our wardrobe, but maybe some people have a lot of fun. Maybe they're fashionistas, so that's what they can't compromise on, but maybe they can cut on other things. But you do make a good point that most people spend the most on their housing and transport and food. And if we can cut one of those bigger things, then the smaller pebbles we can enjoy without too much guilt. Well, one of the biggest theme I work with people on, especially recently, is existential crisis or midlife crisis, where they reach a certain point in their lives and then they feel like they haven't been actually living their lives. So can you expand on the idea that many of us have betrayed our life for money, or people get into the trap of earning and riding the treadmill? You said it really well in your videos. You say, well, we work so much and then we're so tired and exhausted. And then we come back, we just watch telly, do something mind-numbing or self-soothing to recharge, and then we forget about the dreams. And so many people say, well, when I was younger, I really wanted to be an artist or a writer, but now I'm so tired, I can't even do it anymore. And then at some point, they buy this big house, they have kids, and it becomes impossible to drop it. So yeah, how do people betray their life for money? It sounds really sad.
Yeah, no, I mean it's extremely common. We spend the best years of our lives, the best time of every day working for money. Um, and most people are stressed about money. There's a stat that like 42% of people have had like panic attacks or cried in the past 30 days because of their finances. So it's something that's super important and it's super stressful for people. And then they like you talked about, they have this lifestyle inflation where they get a raise, and they get a bigger house, and they get another raise, and they get a nicer car, and they get another raise, and they, like they just do private school instead of public, and they go through this thing. And I think you almost have to come to that point where you do have a crisis and you realize what is important to me. Is it important that I'm I have time to spend with my kids and I get to do something that I love every day, or is it important to have this nice house? Because that's a huge step to move to a smaller house. But if it saves you, you know, 20% on your budget and you can take one day off a week, that is the exact same, then is that a trade that you're willing to make? Is it worth getting rid of that new car that you really like and going back to a cheaper, older car? So kind of getting to that point where, yes, you might have screwed up, but you can also go from like people have gone from really bad situations to financial freedom in under 10 years. Most people can do it, but most people will not do it because they're not willing to make those big things. It's not like little changes. It's, are you willing to change your life in order to change your life? And most people aren't. They're tired. And when you are tired, you're on the couch, you're doing all that stuff. The thing that really helped me, because I was doing that, I was working full time. I had two part-time jobs and I was running a YouTube channel while renovating a house. So like I was just waking up, working, and then like falling asleep like at the end of the day for years. But I was reading books like in the car, I was listening to them on Audible, I was watching YouTube videos, I was like keeping myself inspired and keeping that end goal in mind of like, when I have kids, I will not be doing this. I guarantee you that. And it just took a couple of years of like extreme sacrifice to have like a life where when people ask me how my week is, I like always feel guilty because I'm like, I worked a little bit and we went to the park and I don't remember what else I did. That was most of my week. Like it was super chill. And like you feel guilty about that, but it was because I put in all the stuff that nobody else is willing to do. So are you to the point where you want to have that type of lifestyle? And if you are, then like you have to make sacrifices or you won't, So
It's
it's
also
very common to do that.
it's also about seeing wealth differently, I feel, as in the narrative that you've just put out. So in a way, you're proud of the time and freedom and the time spent with your kids that you have, but you're not necessarily flaunting your wealth. You're prideful not because of the number in your bank accounts, but because of the life that you're living and the life energy that you have. I don't know if you've read the book Die with Zero.
Yeah.
Yeah, which talks about the life energy that you have and what you have now, rather than a pseudo number that you used to brag.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like the house, the car, the number of whatever money that they have is like that's their identity,
In the bank.
Yeah, exactly. Like they need this big chunk of money or this really nice house in order to show off that they're successful. But when you don't care what other people think about you, like that's a huge step of this. It's just not really caring too much. Which might take a while. But yeah, I think a lot of it just comes down to like the pressure of everybody else is doing this, so I have to do this.
Yes, which we will talk about, which is how do you live a non-conformist and non-mainstream life and be okay with that. But yeah, I think ultimately it would be amazing if we can get to a point where we don't care about what's other things and life is not about proving who we are to others. What is that quote that you do to buy things we don't want to impress people we don't respect? There's this classic quote that
Yeah, you buy things with money you don't have to impress people you don't even like or something
Thank
like that.
you. Exactly. So for people, I mean, one more thing to add. I don't think I would say those people have screwed up. I think, at different points in your life, you make the choices in the best way you can with the limited resources and information you had. Maybe it's your parents' story, maybe it's what the teachers tell you. But then now you've got, they've listened to this episode, or they have exposed themselves to newer sets of values. Hopefully they can also make the change. So how would you suggest someone who feels stuck like that to rediscover some actual sources of joy that they can enjoy without money? And how do they find their beginner's mind back? Where do we start?
Yeah, I think I like what you mentioned that, yeah, they didn't necessarily screw up. Maybe you've never heard of this idea. If you've never heard of this idea of minimalism, the FIRE movement, then how could you follow it? Like I was lucky that I read this book that my mom recommended to me early, and that's why I like literally
So
if I hadn't read that
wise.
book, this other stuff would have happened. So I did get lucky that way, and some other people haven't.
Was it
Um,
Rich Dad Poor Dad that your mom recommended?
yeah, that was the first one, and now I'm like a couple hundred books later. Like, but that one led to another book, which led to another
Yeah.
book, which led to podcasts, YouTube channels, and all this stuff. So I think that the first step that I kind of did was brainwashing myself, like surround yourself with this all the knowledge that you'll need. And as you see, like that just makes so much sense when you read this book and you're like, this idea makes so much sense. When I first read Essentialism and Rich Dad Poor Dad and Set for Life and 4 Hour Work Week and all these different things, I'm like, why am I not doing this stuff? It works. These people's lives have been changed. Like you get inspired by this stuff and you continue reading and learning. And that's a trait of most successful people that I've ever met. Is like they're lifetime learners, even when they're billionaires they are lifetime learners, and that's what leads to a lot of their happiness. Once they get to a certain point of money, they realize that money was not the point. Like they're like, oh, well, I'm now, worth X amount of money, and that doesn't make me happy at all. So it's this, I think growth and learning really makes you happy. And that's
Mm.
what I really enjoy. That's why for most of this year, I've been reading like a book a week, and I got away from reading for a while, and going back to reading consistently every day and listening to audiobooks and stuff has really it just makes me happier. And then also like just taking time to like when's the last time you actually like tasted what your coffee tasted like? Like taking some time to slow down and be like, what does this food taste like? What does this coffee taste like? Kind of makes you realize that you can get enjoyment out of almost everything when you slow down a little bit and you take time to focus on what's actually important, what actually brings me joy, instead of just always trying to rush to get to the next task, the next thing. Oh, I gotta finish this so I can make food, and then I gotta eat food as fast as I can so I can leave, and then I gotta get there as fast as I can so I can start the next thing. And then I gotta and trying to slow down a little bit, that has really helped me.
Thank you for sharing that. It reminds me of a time where I got into that trap, and then like it became, I love my morning coffee or chocolate time. My dentist complained a lot, but I like, oh my God, I reached a point where I was so stretched for time. I'll be on my stationary bike drinking the coffee whilst watching a show to learn Japanese, doing three things at the same time without enjoying any of it. And it feels ridiculous.
Mhm.
Um, I can already imagine people, especially, they might say, oh, it's easy for you in your young age. I'm like now in my 50s. I've got kids, people who rely on me. My wife doesn't work. What about insurance? If I quit my job, there's no insurance. This is America. My kids needs me. And everyone needs me to have a stable job. My parents will worry. They'll be disappointed in me. Is there any wise words you can say to that, if any?
So like I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I'm not just recommending like people just leave their jobs with no plans.
Mm.
Like this might involve like you take those nights and weekends and you build another source of income that can eventually replace your job, which might take years to build. But anybody can start a business. And that's how most millionaires are made, is starting their own businesses, or investing in real estate. It's a huge way people build wealth. Um, there's a million different paths you can take, but most people don't really want to do that. So, and also like if people do judge you or whatever, if you're worried about that, then I wouldn't, that's its own its own struggle. Like people are gonna think you're weird if you do anything that's unconventional, and if you do something like there's this quote that I think was in the 4 Hour Work Week, that everything popular is wrong, and that's like how I live my life. Just like if everybody's doing that, then I'm just gonna assume that is not the best way to do it, and it's probably just really a dumb way to do it. So I'm gonna try something else, and that's gonna be a very small majority, like a very small minority of people who are gonna live their lives this way. Not everybody's gonna do this stuff. Not everybody's gonna be a YouTuber, a podcaster, a business owner, an investor. Um, but if you do, then those people generally have kind of cool, non-conventional lives. So
Mm.
yeah, I don't know.
There are the arguments that, number one, some people say that there's no such thing as a passive income. And then some other people say, well, surely not everyone gets to be an entrepreneur or enjoy your YouTube lifestyle. Some people got to work in a job. Otherwise, who would work in a job? What would you say to that?
I mean, first of all, there is passive income. If you look at like dividend stocks, like you put money in and then it pays you dividends. That's pretty passive. Um, and there's other things like that where you can build a business for 5 years and then hire people to do every single aspect of it, and then you'll make money while you sleep. Or there's this idea of semi-passive income, which is kind of YouTube, where I've built videos for the past 5 years, and I could take the next year off, and I could still make a decent amount of money, because
Wow.
that's going to pay me while I sleep. I make money day and night. It's obviously going to die off quite a lot if I stop posting, but it's not necessarily 100% passive, but it's way more passive than showing up somewhere 8 hours a day, if I can work one day a week and still keep this machine running, then um, that's kind of my more idea of realistic passive income.
I like that because it's not so
But
black and
yeah,
white. It's not completely passive, like you're just lying there, but it's not as active as a
mm,
conventional job. Cool. So yeah, we're
yeah.
talking a lot about going against the mainstreams. Mm, what are some more other challenges you can imagine? Actually, I think, do you think it creates difficulties in friendships and relationships when you have a set of values that are quite different from the mainstream?
Um, it hasn't really for me, like it probably would for some people, but my family has been super supportive and um like when I got my first rental, I got into all this stuff. My brother did the same thing, and now him and his wife have both left their jobs and they're just doing their own little side business a couple days a week. And
Mm.
they have a two kids now, and they're just like literally just home all the time. So like I think also once people realize that all this stuff that like it really works, there's thousands and hundreds of thousands of people who have done this type of lifestyle where you're not like 100% um, like retired, but you're just living super unconventionally. And for us, it leads to a lot more happiness, not for everybody probably. But if you're really convicted in that lifestyle, then like it might cause some problems where like we're not doing Christmas gifts because we just don't want to buy each other a bunch of crap. Like we'll do events with you, we'll go somewhere, we'll have an experience. But I don't know. You have to. It all comes back to like you got to do what's right for you. And if people are upset or whatever, it's like you can't change anybody else. You can change yourself, and you can do
Mm.
what's right for you and your family. And if people judge you for that, then like they're probably not people you want in your life anyway. So who cares?
Mm. Yes, I think some people will see that as being irresponsible, but I think there's such a fine line between uh codependency and caring too much for like living, what I'm trying to say, authenticity, and being not codependent. And that's not always irresponsible. It's not like you're hurting anyone. Mm. So let's finally, I mean, I'm also quite impressed with a lot of very handy creativity and productivity hacks you shared in your channel. What's your favorite productivity mental strategy or actual things that you do, or maybe some of your favorites? Can you share?
Yeah. So probably my favorite thing when I am procrastinating in order to like force myself to actually start doing something is to actually set a timer for like 15 minutes, 60 minutes, however long I think the task should take. And then I have that long to finish the task, or I just like don't get to do it. So if I have to shoot a video and I'm like procrastinating, I'm like, oh, I gotta like maybe it's not right. Yeah, I gotta rework the script. I'm like, here's a timer for an hour. If I don't do it, I need to just delete everything that I've done and I'm quitting YouTube.
No.
And when you have that type of pressure, but you can do amazing stuff in an hour if you have that type of pressure and you stop procrastinating. So like whatever it is, whether it's laundry or something else and you're having trouble procrastinating, set a timer for 15 minutes. And if you don't do it, chuck it outside and you're going to do it in 15 minutes. I guarantee you'll figure it out. And that's that idea of,
Parkinson law.
I forgot what the name of the law. Yeah, Parkinson's law,
Parkinson
where stuff
law.
will give the amount of time,
Yes, that one.
like the amount of time you have, the work will fill that time. So
Yeah.
lower your time constraints and you'll be like a billion times more productive.
I admire that. I have a little post-it note that says the Parkinson law is real on my kitchen because I always spend too much time playing in the kitchen,
100%.
but it never works for me. It just ended up in this indulgence treadmill. But
Well, try setting a timer on your phone or something that's like
I
physical and
do.
then like lock it somewhere. Oh, you
I
do?
do. I
For
have
me, it works.
timers and I keep snoozing it. It's like time's up, and then I snooze. Time's up. It's a lot. Like it's a long
You have
struggle for
to,
me.
maybe it is where like maybe the accountability partner or something else will come in where like if I don't do this in an hour, text me and I'll send you $100 if I don't do this in the next hour. If you do that, like you won't have if it's a good friend, they'll demand $100 from you. And you'll do that because you don't want to spend $100. Something like that where if you put real
Yeah, like
consequences
real
or real
constraint.
rewards, then
Mm,
yeah, then because otherwise it's just like a wish. But if you have something that's real, then I don't know. It's helped me. Like even
yeah.
like YouTube, I've never missed an upload like on a week just because I've kind of made it so much of a rule and a habit that if I miss one, I'm gonna quit. That I've
Mm,
never missed one, and it's not even a struggle because I just made that such a rule. And a few things for something like that, you can set stuff on your phone that it'll There's different apps you can get or different things where you can have it shut off at a certain time or have it go grayscale at a certain time.
Mm, I do.
If waking up, okay, well, I don't know then. If waking up is a problem and you hit snooze, I
Mm,
put my phone on the other side of the room, so I have to walk out of my room in order to turn
yeah.
my alarm off. And then I'm like, well, I'm already out here, so I might as well just like go on with my day. So
Yeah,
like
yeah,
just
yeah.
like trying to annoy yourself into doing stuff, making it really annoying to not do it.
Do you have any ideas on creative procrastination? Like, I think for many people, it's got something to do with perfectionism. Like, it's not good enough. I need to edit it. Oh, I can't start. But usually, my advice for people is if you start by doing 1 minute a day or 5 minutes, it usually expands because once you start, you get into the flow. Would you have any other? Because you are very, very prolific creatively.
Yeah, I would say there's this idea of the 2 minute rule, which is from kind of like minimalism, where you commit to 2 minutes of something. So if you want to go to the gym, you commit to
Yeah.
putting on your shoes, going out to the car, and then you can choose to go to the gym or not. But if you get that far, you're probably going to continue. Same thing with shooting, where I'll I'll kind of commit to like, all right, it once this time it happens, I have to start shooting, and then I can stop anytime. But once you start, you just kind of keep going. So it's
Right.
just that first bit that's the hardest. And if you play a song and then after the song is over, you just hit play and then you sit there and stare, you'll eventually start doing something.
Mm-mm.
So kind of just like it comes back to like tricking myself. I'm not very smart, but like if I can trick myself into starting, it works. And then I also like this idea of like constraints. So whether it's the time constraint that I talked about, or like when I'm shooting a YouTube video, I will take the camera and I'll say, I'm not allowed to use a tripod for this. So that's going to force me to use creative angles. I'm going to put it under the couch. I'm going to put it in the refrigerator. I'm going to put it here with a coffee cup underneath it. I'm going to use these constraints in order to force creativity. And it makes like a unique style. Or this time I'm going to hold it every time. This time I'm going to put in as many transitions as I can. What are those things that kind of make it fun and also force you to just kind of get past it? I mean, YouTube's a little different than most people's lives, but
Mm.
if you do have constraints for something, use that to your advantage instead of it being like, oh, well, I can't do it because I only have this. Like, all right, well, how can that be your unique advantage? You know?
Love it. Love it. And how do you train yourself to not let instant gratification, which is the biggest temptation in the universe right now, run the show?
I think instant gratification is something that I struggle with occasionally. Everybody struggles with. But it's this idea of realizing that it doesn't really, I don't know, like every time I've fallen into it, you always like, you have instant buyer's remorse. You buy something and then you're like you get the high of um whatever it is before you buy something, and after you buy it, like the dopamine goes down. So there's like stuff like that. I don't know, like kind of rambling here. Let's see.
Not
Um,
really.
yeah,
You're
I don't
good.
know. It's just something that's taken a while, and realizing if you have those big goals of whatever the big goals are, financial freedom, whatever, it kind of takes away all that instant
Mm.
gratification of stuff. And it's also just practice. Like this month of not spending makes me realize all that stuff doesn't matter. And once you train yourself to think that way by reading 50 books on it, you're like you realize that it's a trick. It's all a scam, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It's
and
about
and
what I'm hearing is you're not rambling. I think what I'm hearing is think longer term about your values and what you really want to achieve, and then practice, practice, practice. And also just brainwashing yourself by surrounding yourself with the right materials and content.
I would even say like being lazy kind of like I don't eat junk food because I don't want to feel like crap. So it's like it doesn't take self-control to do it because I'm doing it for a selfish reason of I don't want to feel like crap. Other
Mm.
people have the problem where they do it for the selfish reason that they want to eat this stuff now, but I'm more worried about the consequence than because I realize that it will literally be over in like a minute. This ice cream will be gone, and I will feel like crap all day tomorrow. And I'm too lazy to do that. So like I'm too selfish to allow myself to not go to the gym to eat bad stuff to spend money because like I don't want to waste money on stuff. So I don't have to work harder to earn more money, and I don't want to work. Like that's what it seems like a lot. So it's just like you can use laziness and selfishness to your advantage to not do stuff you don't want to do.
And I guess we all have our thing. What might be easy for you might be really difficult for someone else. So they might just have to try many different things to find what works better. And I guess also it's not a black or white perfection thing. You might do it sometimes, you might fail sometimes, but try and practice. And one small win is a small win in delaying gratification.
Yeah, for sure. Like you don't have to be right 100% of the time. Just don't be wrong back to back. Like it's okay if you miss one day at the gym. Don't let that be the end of your time going to the gym. Just make sure you never miss 2 times in a row. Or if you eat something once, just don't eat it every day this week because you messed up once. Like don't let that throw everything off track.
Your face really lit up when we come to the last part where we talk about hacks and strategies. And I think that's really your strength and your passion.
Yeah, no, I love all this stuff because like it literally changes my life when I can trick myself and do this stuff and you kind of notice it happening and you see other people like, oh, I recommended this to my mom and she uses it all the time now, like for different things and like these are real things that actually help stuff.
I didn't plan to talk about it, but if you still have a few more minutes, I do want to ask something. It sounds like you've got a
Sure.
very unique family that's very supportive. Do you find it easy to find your tribe?
So I'm extremely introverted. So my family has been super supportive for most of the stuff that I've done, especially my wife, because we had this shared goal in mind that we're talking about very open stuff. But when it came to finding my tribe, I don't really have many friends,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, because I like don't go out a ton. But
Oh,
there
high
are a few
five.
friends that I've made that kind of
Mm.
similar um, goals. And you know what? I also realized that I don't know, because I'm also very introverted, so it's different than most people, but I don't need a bunch of friends. I need like one or two good friends who kind of get me. And so you don't have to find this huge tribe of people. You can have a few good friends. And then I also found my tribe by I was so excited about the fire movement that I started making YouTube videos about it because I talked to everybody that I knew. And then eventually minimalism. And I kind of found this outlet of like, I'm so excited about all this stuff that I'm learning and these new experiments that I'm trying and these different hacks that I can make a video about it. And that's how I kind of have my tribe is
Mm.
I just share it with people. And maybe for everybody it's not that, but maybe just share it with some friends and you can kind of create your tribe that way. I don't know. That's
No,
how I've
that's
kind of built.
wonderful. I am also extremely introverted, and I think people don't get it sometimes because I'm really not shy. When in a social setting, I'm not shy. And obviously, we're both putting our face out here on YouTube, so people think, oh, how can you be an introvert? But I don't think they understand that introversion is not that. It's where you draw your energy from. I mean, I need 90% of my time recharging and maybe 10% of it socializing. So I also don't need a lot of friends, but I think for me, the idea of a tribe, I like your answer because it's not necessarily you being in a restaurant or in a party, being surrounded by lots of people. It could be virtual. For me, authenticity is just so important. So having a space where one gets to be authentic, I don't know where I'm going now, I'm rambling. It's a big milestone in finding your tribe, be it just having online conversations with people or just having a space and outlet where you get to be yourself, which
Hmm.
I think you're doing.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I don't know. Like I'm still trying to get better about like reaching out to people and having more one-on-one connections with people. But
Mm.
I also think people see this, they see life on TV or Instagram or wherever they see it, and they see these big groups of people, and I'm out with all my friends, and like, well, I don't have a bunch of friends, so does that make me a loser or whatever? It's like you don't need a bunch of friends. You need like one or two friends. I didn't have like a single friend for most of my life until recently. So like and that's okay because maybe that means it's time to focus on yourself right now.
Mm.
And you can eventually find these people by going to places where they are. Maybe it's you go to a YouTube channel where they are, you go to an event that's for
Mm.
people who are into wine tasting and whatever, and you're gonna find people there who are into similar stuff. Like you gotta also set yourself up for some of that.
I hear
Which
you.
even like other creators like this is how I find people who we're all into similar stuff. We're into creating, we're into improving ourselves, we're into all these stuff. We've read similar books, And that's how you find it, is by putting yourself out there for some of these things as well.
It is such an amazing feeling when I meet someone and they say, "Oh, do you do fire?" When you talk about something and they instantly know. It's like when we chat, right? We talked about different books, like the Tim Ferriss, Die with Zero, and I don't have to explain it. You immediately know what I'm talking about. So clearly we are in the same, not exactly the same, but there are overlaps in the zone that we're in. And yeah, resonating with what you said, for most of my early lives, I always, obviously the show Friends, or maybe you're too young for that. I always watched it and I
No, I
got
know.
very, yeah, well, actually Big Bang Theory too. I got so jealous of them. It's like I'm a bit like Sheldon Cooper, like a bit of an odd bitch. I'm not as clever as he is, but I'm as odd and as eccentric as he is, probably. But like he has his Amy and his like friends. Where are mine? But then now that I actually think about it, the whole going out in a party, actually, if that actually happens, I'll probably get a migraine after and take a week to recover from a pool of people in a loud, noisy disco or something. So yes, it's about claiming who you
Yeah.
are and finding your own sweet spot.
Yeah, and that comes back to not trying to be like everybody else. Don't care what other people think. Don't try to be like everybody else. Maybe you don't want to go out and party, even though that seems like what you should want to do, but you don't want to do it. So you're like, why don't I want to do it? Am I weird? Am I whatever? Like, no, I don't enjoy partying. I enjoy having coffee in front of my fireplace with my daughter. That's all I want out of life. So you don't have to, want what everybody else wants necessarily, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. I hope that would bring some people who is listening to this a relief that, oh, okay, I have the permission to just be me, however weird and eccentric that might be in someone else's eyes, and I don't need to justify it to them. I'm sorry, it takes up so much of your, I'm just really enjoying this, so I lost track of time, but thank you so much for giving your time to us. Really enjoyed this.
No, yeah, thanks for having me on. I had a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
I see that silver pellets behind you. Is it going to turn gold at some point? I don't know. I don't know how YouTube work.
Yeah, it turns gold when I hit 1 million subscribers. I'm at like 400,000 now, so couple
Pluck
years.
away, pluck away. Where do people find you? Do you have any offerings for them?
No, if you just go to YouTube, Gabe Bult, I've got a bunch of videos about any of the stuff we've talked about. I've done 5 videos on that subject. So if you're interested, you can check that out.
I'll link it up in the show notes. Thank you
Awesome.
so
Appreciate it.
much. All right. Well, have
Yeah,
a
thanks for having me.
wonderful day, and let's stay in touch.
All right, sounds good. Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much for tuning in. For more, please head to eggshelltherapy.com. There you will find more stories, articles, and resources for people just like me and you. Bye now!
Keep putting one foot in front of the other, moving forwards, never looking back. Just one more foot in front of all those countless others, and we're there.